Welcome to Lesson 8 in our Brown Eyed Girls series. Today we're going to learn how to play the much dreaded bar chord. Hey, nothing to be scared of. These chord shapes allow us access to the entire guitar neck, and with a little bit of technical help, I think you'll find them quite enjoyable to work with. Come on, let's go learn some bar chords.
D, 4, 1, 2.
In order to do these bar chords, we need to know our notes on our E and A strings. So let's start with the E string. E is open, and then F is on the first fret, F sharp on the second, G on the third, and G sharp on the fourth. I'm going to move up to the fifth fret now, and this is A. A sharp, B, C. And now up to the ninth fret, C sharp, D, D sharp, and E. It works in the same way once we're on the 12th fret. That's E, 13th is F, 14th is F sharp, 15th is G. So I have three simple steps we use to make our E-shaped bar chords. First, we have to start with our E chord. First finger on the G string, second finger on the D string, third finger on the D string, second finger's on the A string. Secondly, what we do is we get rid of our first finger and play the exact same chord using other fingers, our second, third, and fourth fingers. We play the same exact chord. And now what we need to do is we need to move the entire chord up one fret, drop our wrist, and bar our first finger along the first fret. Now the name of this chord changes from E to whatever that note is on our first fret. That note is an F. So we're going to call this an F. And if we move up a fret, this whole thing becomes an F sharp. And if we move up another fret, this entire thing becomes a G. So here's our first chord within our Brown Eyed Girl song. Our second chord is a C. So we need to work our way up to get to C. So if this is a G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So wherever my first finger is the name of the chord. So this is our C chord. And then what we do is we come right back to that G chord right here. And our last chord, we have to get all the way up to D. Well, I remember our C was on the 8th fret, my first finger being on the 8th fret. So C sharp, D, my first finger's on the 10th fret, that is a D. So now I've put together the three chords I need to know for the first 8 measures of our song. Here's our first 8 measures. We have G, 2 and 3 and 4. So the way I'm strumming it is 1, 2 and 3 and 4. And I move up to the C, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Back to the G, and notice how I'm just kind of sliding my hands along. So it takes a certain leap of faith to get from one chord to the next. So I'm moving this, here's my G, and I need to jump up to my 10th fret. So you just need to get really comfortable with that. So that's our progression: G, C, G, D, G, C, G, D. That's our first 8 measures. And what I do at the end of on the 8th measures, I go 1, 2, and 3, and then I play a simple line walking up to the G chord, D, E, F sharp, and then I go into my G chord, which is an A shape. So now we need to talk through our A shapes. To play our A-shaped bar chords, what we need to do is know our A string. So our A string looks like this. A is open, A sharp is on the first, B is on the second, C, and C sharp. Now I'm going to go to the 5th fret, D, D sharp, E, F, and now up to the 9th fret, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. And in the same way that the E string, once we hit the 12th fret, we just play this. We play the same notes as we played here, open, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We're going to do the same thing here on the A string. So 12th fret is the same as open, so that's an A, and then A sharp, B, C. So the first step for knowing our A shapes is we have to know what an A is. So here's our A chord. First option will be removing our 1st finger and moving up the 2nd and 3rd finger and putting our 4th finger here right below it. And so now I have these 3 fingers here. And what I can do is I move the entire shape up 1 fret and I'll bar along the 1st fret. I'll name it after the 1st fret here on the A string. So I've moved my A shape up 1 fret, and this is a B flat. And I move up, or sorry, A sharp. We're calling it A sharp for the moment. A sharp. And move it up again, and we got a B. And again, we have a C. And we need that chord. That's one of the chords we need to know. And then moving up from the C, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. Now this gets really tight and squishy for me. I don't like it. So the other options I have for you is to try to either bar this A shape with just using your 3rd finger, or just bar it with your 4th finger. I tend to use my 4th finger, but let's use our 3rd finger for the moment. You take this A shape and you scoot it up 1 fret, and you put your 1st finger up here on the 1st fret on the A string, and that's A sharp. And we move up, you got B, and up a fret, you got C, etc. Now, this is a real pain in the butt for me as well. I don't really like this. So what I tend to do is I use my 4th finger, which I find easier for me to pinch with. And I play. So again, I have my A string here. I purposely avoid hitting the high E here. If I'm playing this shape with my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers, I can hit the high E because it's being barred here with your 1st finger. So what I do is I just kind of ignore it. And I play these 4 notes, A string through B string, and I don't hit that E. The 4 chords we need for continuing the song with A shapes is we need the C right here on the 3rd fret with your 1st finger on the 3rd fret, 4th finger or 3rd finger along the 5th fret, and then a D chord right here on the 5th fret, 1st finger on the 5th fret, and a G up here on the 10th fret, 1st finger on the 10th fret, and 4th finger or 3rd finger on the 12th fret. So let's get through the next 8 measures of the verse. So after I've walked up on measure 8, we're going to play the same progression, just using A shape. So here's my G chord, back to the C, up to the G again, back to the D, and then that happens again. So we just walk right through those chords. On measure 17, we're into the chorus. So we back up here for C. This is still an A shape. I strum it for 4 beats. Measure 18, I move up to the D on the 5th fret. Measure 19, I jump up, still A shapes. All these are A shapes here. Up to the G on the 10th fret. And now this is where I need to play an E minor. And so I wanted to give you an E shape and an A shape for our minor chord. So what I'm playing is an E minor like this on the 7th fret, and then an open E minor. For the A minor shape, we start here with our 1st finger on the B string, our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the D string, and our 3rd finger on the G string. And then we switch up our fingers, make it our second, third, and fourth fingers, and that's an A minor. We move up and we have A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and E minor. So that's an E minor here on the 7th fret. And then we jump into our open shape here. On measure 20, what we do is we go 1, 2 on the A minor shape here on the 7th fret. First finger on the 7th fret. And then we play our open E minor. 1, 2. Measure 21, we're back to the C right here, which is the A shape, first finger on the 3rd fret. Up to the D on the 22nd fret. And now we jump back into our E shape on the 3rd fret for the G chord. And back up to the A shape on the 5th fret here, first finger on the 5th fret, for our D chord. And what I wanted to do is make it so that you can jump right back into doing the song again. So what we're doing on the last measure, measure 24, is we go 1, 2, and 3. And then we do this little walk back. C, B, A, G. Again, that measure 24 sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and we jump right back into that G chord. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And now I'm back up at the top of the song. G, etc. It takes a while to get really comfortable with that A shape. You really just have to keep working on it. It's not something that you need to be perfect at before you move on to our next lesson. It's just something that you have to understand and be able to consistently push down harder and harder and harder. And over the next couple weeks, hopefully you'll have mastered that A shape. The E shape is a lot quicker. One additional tip I'll give you is to make sure you bend that wrist. So the wrist shouldn't be up here flat. It should be sunk down low. So what that looks like is if I'm playing an E right here, you know, my wrist is pretty neutral. But as soon as I'm playing a bar chord, I really drop that wrist. I just throw it down. My thumb slides all the way down the back of the guitar. And there it is. I have a nice sound for all 6 strings. I'm holding them all down nice and strong. And the only way I can anchor my hand to get super strength on it is by lowering my wrist and dropping my thumb. So that's the key there.